to celebrate the 100 plus follows on Twitch, I think that I want to actually start today by showing people the buildings and creatures added in PyAlien Life. Do you all want to see the creatures that have been added in PyAlien Life? We'll look at them. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of things that have been added. About last time I counted, like over like around 35, 25, I think. 25, somewhere around there. There's a lot. There's a lot of creatures. In particular, I will start by making a note with the bioreserve. This is our new resource. Can you play Alien Life with biters disabled? Yes. Yes, my map has biters disabled. PyAlien Life it doesn't do anything with biters. There will be in the future a PyAliens module that will go along with Alien Life that will take like the creatures and replace biters with random creatures. At least that was the intention, to have that type of a thing, to actually have some of these creatures out on the actual map. But it's very hard, as Pyanodon had discovered. It's very hard to do that, but there was the intention to have this separate PyAliens mod for that. But Alien Life doesn't touch biters. You absolutely can play without biters. So, the bioreserve mechanic. The bioreserve's biosamples are required for green science. You need to feed the collectors for the bioreserves these biocontainers. Biocontainers require steel, glass, lead, and titanium in this amount just to get the 1 per second. And these, under normal circumstances, feed 1-to-1 into the collector. They feed 1-to-1 into the collector. The collector takes 1 megajoule per cycle, and 1 cycle is 1 second to give you 1 biosample. So normally this will be 1-to-1. So you can think of this as 1 steel, 1 glass, 1 lead, 2 titanium per biosample. But because these have module slots at the moment, you can add efficiency modules to these to reduce this biocontainer use by 80%. So you can actually make 1 biocontainer go and make 5 biosamples instead of just 1, just by making the efficiency minus 80%. And yeah, they can currently have productivity, but that's not quite as important. I have Bob's modules here for this with the God modules, but so you can sort of see how insane it could get with modules. But yeah, just minus 80% on the efficiency is going to be key with having your bioreserves to get the most out of the cost associated with mining the bioreserves with the biocontainers in particular. So I wanted to make note of that, like, very first thing, that's how these bioreserves work, and it's just regular assembling machines to make these containers, and they just feed the collectors, and they output stuff. Things, beautiful things. These are neat sprites. And yeah, science changed. Even space science changed. Like, it's nuts. Even space science changed. Even the victory condition has changed. The victory condition apparently is now being changed to be quantum computing and not launching the rocket. So the victory screen will now not show up when you launch a rocket, which is interesting. Very, very interesting. Very interesting. Very, Very interesting. So, starting off here, I think it would probably be prudent. Yes, there is now a different way of getting hydrogen chloride. If Immortal Sniper's here, probably celebration times, for the hydrogen chloride. Um, so this is hydrogen chloride without lamps. Hydrogen chloride without lamps. It exists. This is like, thank you level of awesomeness. At the moment, it is made in the bioreactor. You can just convert guts into hydrogen chloride. It's absolutely amazing, and the atomizer. The atomizer is really nice. This one is converting blood into chlorine. Just blood into chlorine. Not that great of a ratio, but it's chlorine. It's different chlorine. You also have like a whole bunch of means of making iron and copper from biotic means, and sulfur from biotic means, and molybdenum from biotic means, and borax, and urea from blood, and cyanic acid, and phosphates through various means, and rare earth. And rare earth. This is now our only rare earth means through these carapaces. A couple of chlorine, a couple of nitrogen, and titanium, zinc, aluminium, tin, and chromium all have biotic means of getting them without ground boring. It's glorious. It's glorious. This is my favorite building now. The atomizer, I think, is my single favorite actual building in this, just in terms of what it offers mechanically. The botanical nurseries, by the way, have really changed. They are no longer where you grow your logs. That will be a completely separate building now. This is where you get seeds for stuff, for the most part, and grow your quote-unquote first plants. And also, it looks like it's where you actually process your cadaveric aurum stuffs. So, when I say make your first thing, this is part of the new animal and plant mechanics. So we'll get to some of these buildings once I sort of talk about this mechanic. How does... Let's see, on the resource generation for PyAL, how does it scale when you want 1,000 per minute of said resource? 1,000 per minute of which resource? The bioreserve? There'll be a just wait. There'll be a thing. There'll be a thing. We'll talk about doing bioreserve at scale. I mean, nothing really changed with resource generation in PyAlien Life. It just adds a resource. So the with the atomizer, that's just a way of getting things in addition to regular mining. Like, say you are somehow short. Say you've got biters enabled and you don't have a source of iron near you without having to go through a lot of effort. Well, this exists for that reason. Like, that's the intention on these, like, iron and copper recipes and the other stuff. This is not your sole method of getting these resources. This is just an additional option to do them biotically without having to mine. So mining is still there. It's just fine. It's just as normal with all of that. So, the creature mechanics. Let me go to what will be my absolute favorite creature, the Fat Eye, or Fate Eye, or however the heck you want to pronounce this. These are dancing armored cats that literally dance until their armor falls off. Yes, these are dancing armored cats, and they do dance until the carapace falls off. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's glorious, and these are my thumbnail for the Paidu Valley series. This is the thumbnail for the Paidu Valley series. It's just these guys dancing on the dance floor, and they are the first perpetual use of programmable speakers. The only issue is that these guys appear to be completely optional, which is a little sad. That this creature is one of the optional creatures. It's used to do upgrades for other creatures for the most part. But anyway, the creatures are modules. Under normal circumstances, if I take away these 8 creatures, you see that the crafting speed is 0.01 on this building, as it is for most of the buildings that have been added. The reason for this is, how are you going to produce something without an animal to produce something with? The game also cannot have a crafting speed of 0. So it's 0.01, not because it's meant to be incredibly slow, it's meant to be not functional, period. But it's just a limitation of the game that has to have a value greater than 0. These modules, as in the animals, will increase the speed of the machine to actually give it a decent crafting speed. Now that's why I say, well, if that's the case, how do you get your first animal to start the process of making additional animals? Because you have to make additional animals once you have at least one. This is a faster process once you do have at least one, and it's cheaper than actually making your first. So making your first is supposed to be somewhat expensive to make and relatively slow, and then you can do the less expensive processes to actually kick the process into gear. It's a positive feedback loop, so the more you get, the faster things go, and the more stuff you're able to produce, and you have to do that each and every single time for each and every single animal / plant. Not so much the mushrooms. These are all mushrooms that have been added. But with the flowers and with the animals, you need to do this. So things like the cadaveric aurum will need cadaveric aurum in order for this to really operate. Things like the relesia and the kickalk will need their own flowers in order to actually do stuff with, for the machine to operate in the end. And in order to make your first animal, you're going to need, generally speaking, a codex, which will have requirements that will vary by tier of animal, so that it can go all the way up to circuit 3 that it will require. But generally speaking, it'll require some circuit, some cable, either tin cable, red wire, or green wire, glass, and lamps in general to make the codices. This building, the data array, will make a DNA sample out of a codex, and then the DNA sample along with a codex will get used in making your first plant, say. So in this case, to make your first cadaveric aurum, you're going to need a flower sample, a tropical tree sample, 2 aurum codices, some biosamples, some cDNA, alien sample 2s, and water. Just as an example of that. The relesia is going to require the relesia codex, a sample of flowers, biosample, cDNA, alien sample 2, and water. Alien sample 2 Alien sample 2 is going to require sample 1 with biosamples, a DNA polymerase, a primer, microfiber, and formamide. Formamide is CO2 and ammonia. The DNA polymerase in the early game will require these thingies, which is interesting. And then things may change. There may be issues with loops and things like that. right now. So just bearing all of that in mind, all of this is subject to change. There may need to be some modifications on these, like, first quote-unquote recipes. Kick-alk, as you know, will get used for fiber, generally speaking. It may be that in the very early game you have to get your raw fiber out of wood, as an example. Just as an example. This building, the creature chamber, is what you use for your creatures. It's the same setup. It's just creatures. It's a codex with a sample, with alien samples, cDNA, biosamples, etc., and that's how you get your first animals. For the most part, there's other things as well besides getting your animals from nothing. Getting your animals from nothing. There's also the concept of getting animals from young slash eggs, and I'm still exploring all of that at this point in time. Now, let's have a look at the actual animals. I'll note that the Gen Lab graphic has changed. The Gen Lab graphics has changed. Canalgus bacteria recipe has also changed. The incubator is what used to be the Gen Lab, as far as I can tell. This used to be the Gen Lab sprite, if I'm not completely mistaken. I'm pretty sure that this used to be the Gen Lab sprite, but now it is the incubator, and the Gen Lab has a different sprite for it, model. And this will also produce some things for you, including fish, which is one of the things that needed to be fixed, that managed to get fixed. So fish, obviously, your first fish is going to be obtained by fishing in your starting spot, or on any of the water that's spawned on the map. I've sort of fished out this water, and this is the only water on this map. But your fish is going to be obtained by actual fishing in the water. The bug that I had to have fixed was that this was producing raw fish, which is a different item than the fish that's actually used for the fish farms. Oops. Anyway, that's been fixed now. It will produce fish. It will produce fish from the actual water now. Hello! Good day. I am showing off in celebration of hitting 100 plus followers the buildings that are added in PyAL Life before we get into the actual playthrough today. And we've had a very big discussion about version 18 that has just released. The Slaughterhouse. The Slaughterhouse. This is overwhelming, these recipes. Note that in a normal playthrough it will not look like this, because this is listing out recipes that will get overridden, or that are, generally speaking, supposed to be overridden. It just did this because all of the texts were unlocked with Infinity Mode, unlocked all at once, and this script it's not able to handle that. Just note that. But what it does allow is for us to compare the recipes as they get upgraded. So in this case, this Kamalts, if you want to get blood out of your Kamalts, initially you'll get 20, but as you tech up, it'll give you 30, and then 40. And these are supposed to be seamless replacements, as coded by King Arthur. Although I managed to point out an issue with that, yeah, I wasn't quite happy about. Making some major changes, yeah, to fix the everything getting unlocked issue. Yeah, yeah, I pointed out the weakness of the current iteration of this as well, because it was possible that you could, with some animals, not have the animal yet before you take an upgrade that would upgrade the recipe for said animal and every other animal. In which case, when you unlock the animal, you would get the original recipe plus the upgraded recipe, so you'd end up with duplicates in that fashion. But yeah, it's slaughterhouse. There's lots of things that you can do in the slaughterhouse, including get sulfuric acid out of cage xenos, which we will have a look at. And yes, they are exactly what you think they are. Yes, they are exactly what you think they are. So here's some mushrooms. We've got Navins, Yedals, and Bodos. They're pretty neat looking. They've got little spider bots, as I'll call them. Well, in the current version, King, the upgrades are like close to each other. It's just that there's some other techs. So genetic design is like the major unlocker before you get techs that get upgraded, because it's all coming off of genetic design. So things like the osteocytes cloning, they all depend on genetic design. It's just that there are some animals that you will have these before you can get these, because these are all purple science. But there is at least one animal that also unlocks at purple science. So you may not have unlocked the animal that unlocks at purple science before picking up osteocytes cloning or interactive cognition. That was the issue that I pointed out. And then you can end up with duplicated recipes for that animal that you have unlocked that's necessary to complete the game at purple science. But yes, the vast majority of the animals you will already have unlocked going into purple science. It's just there's that one case where there is one animal that is also unlocked at purple science that that the upgrades doesn't depend on you to have first. I mean, you could just solve it by having that one animal having that tech that unlocks the antelope be a requirement for getting the other things. So that's a thing. That's a thing. These are Arthurians. These were previewed. These will be required to complete the game. Just FYI. The eggs are required on the Arthurians to get purple science, as far as if I remember correctly. I've made notes on these things. Somewhere I have notes on these things. Yes, somewhere I have notes. The Arthurians are absolutely required. Let's see. Navins are required for the purple science, so you'll need these for purple science. Yadals are mostly used for food for other animals / plants, and they are used to improve the output of other animals. So they're used for some recipes with other animals. These are mostly like an upgrader thing. So you get these in order to upgrade animals, and there's a few of these types of animals that are used for upgrades of other animals. The Bodos are same thing in general, food, but they're also used for alien enzymes for purple science. So purple science here, purple science here. There'll be a theme here. Purple science here for the Arthurians, for the eggs. They'll purple science is like going to be a huge milestone now, because alien enzymes require a ton of work for purple science. It's absolutely massive, the build that you'll need for this, to get purple science now, in the form of the alien enzymes, because now you have this entire Nexalate cobalt chain plus you need these venom glands from a thing, and you need all of these three here: the microcin, the peptidase, and the retrovirus. And these are going to require Vraux. These are going to require sea sponges, cytostatics, Arthurian eggs, all the Navens, all these wonderful creatures that you may have not used up to that point. So, yeah, there'll be a big biotic explosion once you're at blue science and you're looking to get purple. Crydrin are like quote unquote Venus flytraps. This is like, hey Seymour, feed me. This is Little Shop of Horrors plant here. That's this guy. That is this guy. We've got our Little Shop of Horrors reference right here. And then we've got our Dilmos. These guys are optional, I think. Let's see, oh, I guess I didn't really speak about the Augs. The Augs are technically optional now. They're needed for a food for another thing that I think is not optional, though. So, by very virtue of that, that makes these required. But yeah, these Augs are like food now, primarily, as well as special power that we shall see a little bit later. Crydrin, these actually are just another ingredient that gets used for improving the output of other animals in specific ways. The Dilmos are useful in that these guys produce arthropod blood, which is used for vanadium processing now. It's no longer just Zipho blood, it's now a generic arthropod blood. And it's used the exact same way. It's the same chain for vanadium processing. And these also produce chitin, which is necessary, but several things make chitin just as several things make arthropod blood. And you will need a way of getting chitin. So this may or may not be optional depending on timings of things. I will need to check. These guys, Dingrits, are wolves. They produce pelts and spikes, both of which are primarily just used for animal upgrades. Of course, we have our glorious Fungi with a whole ton of recipes associated with Fungi. You know, just a few recipes associated with Fungi. And of course, Fungi is absolutely necessary. It will be used for the Alien Sample 1 and 2 in the form of primers, which will be required for science packs. So, yay, Fungi, necessary for science still. We've got fish. Fish produce fish eggs, as you might expect. Fish produce fish eggs, and then you can go from there. Why do I have so many? Oh, that's why. Hey, a change that I suggested happened. Yay. Yay, a change happened. So, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. Kamouts, well, fish are used for fish oil, which gives you a better biopolymer recipe. They're also used as food for other things. The Kamouts were used for serine by default. They're still used for serine. But serine itself may not be as required anymore, because there's now other ways of getting helium in particular, but it is required for the alien bacteria, and the alien bacteria gives you a good oleochems, gives you good oleochem recipes, and it gives you a recipe for resin, and resin is necessary, so yeah, I would say these guys are still necessary for the Kamouts. Muckmo, or Muckmox, if you actually look at the slaughterhouse, if you actually pay attention on this animation on the slaughterhouse, what did I have this set to before? I guess it doesn't really matter. Just do that. If you pay attention, right up in here, these are totally Muckmo that are getting processed. and they're getting that one skins them. This one shears the hide off of the muckmo. It goes in looking all dark, and it comes out meat, white meat, beautiful white meat of muckmo. Yes, that I'm sure will haunt some people when they see this, and that's totally a thing. The only thing I would say about this animation is it's really nice. But if these are supposed to be like guillotines, they should probably move a little bit faster going down. I really don't know exactly what these things are supposed to be that go up and down. My thought is that these are gigantic blades that are guillotine, like actual guillotine slices. That's what I imagine these to be, and I would think that they would go down with a little bit more force than this. But that's just my thoughts with that animation. It can be more gruesome. It can be a lot more gruesome than it already is. As it is, we're already skinning muckmo in that animation. And yeah, so the muckmo, it's like lard, and they're also food for other creatures. Of course, Fat Eye, or Fade Eye, or however the heck you want to pronounce this, the thing with these guys is they produce carapaces that can be used in upgrades and the rare earth ores and aluminium ore in the atomizer. These guys, unfortunately, pretty optional. Fagnots, or Fagnots, however the heck you want to pronounce these, are things with giant heads. With gaseous heads. These guys produce gas bladders. And while these guys are, like, completely optional, the things you can make out of the glass bladders... The glass bladders? No, the gas bladders are absolutely wonderful and glorious. With the gas bladders, you can make acetylene. You can make helium, but in all actuality, you can get more helium by making rich gas. You can make rich gas out of gas bladders and throw the rich gas into the helium chain. I did some of the math. I do think that the rich gas here, this 30, ends up producing in the 40s of helium, which is a lot more than 10. But this dodges the rest of the helium chain, clearly. You can do methane. You can do ammonia. You can do ethylene. You can do propene. You can do CO2. You can do natural gas biotically, which means you can do literally all the things that natural gas makes biotically. And all of the things that those things make biotically. I don't like shale oil, like, just FYI, but hey, it's a route to naphtha through biotic natural gas that you can then use for tall oil / light oil that you can use for I guess that's about it, really. But there options are now available to you with that. You could chlorine. Like, really. And then pheromones, which will get used on animal breeding and such. I need to look a little bit closer at the whole animal breeding thing. Scrondrix are dinosaurs. Are totally dinosaurs. Parasaur type creatures. These are, again, optional. They're used for their pineal glands, which is used for growth factor to make processes go faster across the board for all the biotic stuff, as well as some of the upgraded animals. Sea sponges are required for alien enzymes. So here we've got sea sponges. Sponges are animals, technically speaking. We have these beautiful things, are whales, the trits. These guys are actually not all that exciting. These, I think, these favor blood output, just standard blood output over most other things. I think these are one of the top producers of standard blood, if you want to use them in the first place for anything. That, again, there are other ways of getting blood. You may not need these for any reason outside of them looking nice. Of course, Ulrich exists still. These will favor bone meal on the output. And these guys will also be food for other animals. Right next door are gigantic worms. Gigantic worms, the Vonix. These are the best lard output, from what I can tell, of all of the things. And they produce a venom gland that is used for alien enzymes and therefore will be required for purple science. So you will need Vonix. Absolutely. They also produce arthropod blood. So this is a good thing for producing arthropod blood. The Vrox, which were also previewed at some point, if I'm remembering correctly, these are producers of chitin and arthropod blood. Otherwise, nothing too spectacular, honestly, about these. And then right next door to them, Xenos. Xenos. Yes, they are exactly what you think they are with the Xenos. These have sulfuric acid for blood, and they are a fantastic source of chitin. I think that these are the best source of chitin of all of the animals. So that you've got sulfuric acid as well as chitin here from these. Oh look, and they require pheromones, which means that you need the other dudes, the phagnots, in order to make xenos. At least with this particular recipe that I'm doing here. I don't know if all of them. No, not all of them will require pheromones. Only some of them. Only some of them. Yeah, let's clear that. So, it's with the Xenos that I want to mention that there are mark levels of all of the creatures that go into the module slots. This mechanic is very long term, to put it mildly. This mechanic is very long term. And the reason for this, if I go to any creature, these recipes have a 0.5% chance of upgrading a Mark 1 to a Mark 2, a Mark 2, two Mark 2s to a Mark 3, 0.5% chance of that succeeding, and then 2 Mark 3s to the Mark 4. As I said, this is a very long-term thing. This will take an incredibly long time to upgrade these creatures for the speed boost. That's the one point I'll make, is that these are incredibly long-term. And yes, we will burn in hell for doing it. We will absolutely burn in hell for doing it. So, yeah, that's long term, but that's how you'll get even better speed upgrades on top of increasing mark levels for stuff. And just bear in mind, I have a setting on by default in the mod settings that increases the module slots. Just in case you didn't realize, in the PyMod settings now, the PyCol processing has options for changing module slot counts, so that's what I have going there. Sniper, yes, you're late. You're late. Very, very late. You're missing me talk about how there's a 0.05% chance of producing Mark II Xenos. You need 2 of them to get a Mark III at 0.05% chance, and then another 0.05% chance to get a Mark IV. So you've got a bug that will be fixed, apparently. A bug? Well, I'm sure it's more like an exclude that you need to add than anything else. So there will be far fewer, I should say, module slots by default for the alien life buildings. So even if you have the setting enabled to double with tier, because yes, these probably shouldn't be affected by that. The crafting speeds are very, very, very closely tuned. They are very much tuned to be exactly what they are. So yeah, Immortal Sniper, you missed me talk about the animal mechanics. We're sort of just having a discussion here at the start about the actual buildings and animals. Yeah, we're talking about the animals right now before going in and actually building out some red science in our main map. How late are you? You are about 50 minutes late. You're about 50 minutes. Yeah, lots of manure. So in this case, augs. You need 2 Mark 1 augs to make a Mark 2 aug that gives you a better speed boost to the machine to make the recipes move faster. It is a 0.5% chance that 2 Mark 1 augs will give you a Mark 2. In order to get a Mark 3, you need 2 Mark 2s. And it's a 0.5% chance. And then you need 2 Mark 3s to get a Mark 4 at a 0.5% chance. So yeah, that's going to be absolutely fun. It's a long-term setup. You set this up to happen. You probably set up a big line of machines to attempt to do these upgrades, and like chain them all the way down to Mark IV, and then just pray. Just throw all of your Mark 1s at it. Just have a setup producing these Mark 1 animals, throw them at these machines that are attempting the upgrades, and just pray at that point. The animals can be put onto belts, yes. The animals can be put onto belts. Some need caged versions, some are uncaged versions. The uncaged versions are the ones that you put into the module slots. The caged versions are the ones that you process in the slaughterhouse or whatever appropriate building. So caged versions get processed, uncaged versions get put into modules, are modules, / get upgraded very slowly. Can you put whales on belts? I'm pretty sure that Control F trit Mark 1. Give me some Mark 1 trits. I'm pretty sure that yes, you can absolutely put whales on belts. Here, let's do this way. Here you go. There's your whales on belts. There's your whales on belts. These aren't the babies. These are the fully grown creatures that give 8,000% speed bonus. Ziffo, our base game, we know Ziffo by now, and we know Zipier by now. Oddly enough, Zipier are like completely optional now. I don't really see a reason to to do stone wool anymore at all, really. Not for the Zippier, not at huge scale, because yeah, they're used for Zippier. They're used for Aurum, so I'll make it for Aurum, because Aurum is still required. But no longer will I probably even think about using Zippier. No longer will I really think about using Zippier, and if I do Stonewool, it would be for getting rid of byproducts. It would be just to get rid of byproduct stone in the form of stone wool, but and stone and gravel in the form of stone wool. But yeah, Immortal Sniper, you missed the disco dance party. You missed the disco dance party, Immortal. It's a dance party. We've got armored cats that dance until their armor falls off. They dance until their armor falls off. These are what produce the carapaces. Unfortunately, it's like a completely optional creature, only if you want to do some creature upgrading. That's I guess it's just carapace. The carapaces are used for stuff which gets used for animal upgrades. So this gives more meat. Or guts. I think that's guts. Anti-tumor, more guts on animal output. The Orexigenics, I think, is lard. Yeah, that one's lard. This gets used for Mark IV upgrade attempts. And the anti-tumor. Yeah, and the anti-tumor. And then just ore here. So yeah, just upgrades. Yeah, had some fun. Had some fun making Xenos as well, I'm sure. And the gigantic worms. Giganto worms. We're actually almost finished here. In case you were wondering, this is how you get your logs now. Your logs are now done in the Fastwood Forestry. It's pretty much the same recipes as before. The recipes haven't really changed to get logs, except that they now need seedlings, and you use your botanical nurseries to get seedlings. That's the difference here. Is you now need seedlings. Seedlings are made from wood / wooden seeds. You need wood into wood seeds into seedlings into logs. So extra steps. Yes, extra steps, plural. Grod. Grod is used for food and animal bedding. Kickalk is, well, Kickalk, we know Kickalk by now. And we sort of have an idea about moss. It's required for red science. Relesia, we know what Relesia gets used for these days. All those are default. Rhenia is new. This stuff is used for spiropollinin, which has been fixed. Did I do the loop math yet on the wastewater? No, I haven't, because as I had pointed out to Pyanodon, there was the only things that produced wastewater was the fish recipes. So that was interesting when I noticed that, because the recipe that unlocks wastewater to urea was under Dilmos. It was here. So it looks like it has been moved, thankfully. It has been moved, but initially that recipe was under Dilmos. I would hope that the urea wastewater would have been moved to the fish farming. ideally, because that's where it gets unlocked. Well, that's when it becomes a thing. You start producing it. Yeah, right here. There we go. Fish farm on water animals Mark 1. That's better. That's better. But I haven't done the math, and only that produces wastewater. So I don't know if that's going to be even remotely viable for making urea out of wastewater, especially considering you no longer get wastewater out of Zapier processing. You used to, you don't anymore. Regarding wood. Oh, wood? Oh right, you're talking about the carbon dioxide loop to feed into the faster carbon dioxide recipe for the logs versus how much CO2 is output versus what the CO2 needed to put back in. I haven't done that math yet. Um, and I think, realistically speaking, I just won't do CO2 logs yet. And I haven't really had a good look at the mushrooms. So Rhynia is used for sporopollenin, and it's a food. The sporopollenin is used for the better biopolymer recipe, as well as oleochemicals without nichrome. Another way of getting oleochemicals. Oleochemicals, by the way, skin and alien bacteria exists now. So skin and alien bacteria, and then sporopollenin, lead plate, and refined syngas. Now, if you really wanted to look at the fungi stuff, here's the recipes. You've got special fungal substrate. Some of these things make that fungal substrate. Manure, growth factor gets applied to like everything. And basically, the further down you go, the more product you get for the most part. Although it looks like here it sort of resets because now you're adding water to the mix. Because you can totally make mushrooms without water now. Somehow. Some way. Sap. Early game, you need that. When you will get it, you will post on the forum the result of the math there. Yeah. Seaweed. We know that we need seaweed for red science. Tufra. Tufra is the potatoes, the alien potatoes. These are used in animal upgrades and food, as well as energy drink. Energy drinks are the result of a chain, because you need sugar. You're actually able to produce sugar now, and yes, this is a thing, apparently, and it's used to do fat eye upgrades, apparently, as well as making ablazed augs and dingrits. So, why am I so bad at this? Ablazed. Give me one of those. So, I mentioned that augs have another use, as do dingrits. Over here, we have machines that produce power. Machines that produce power, and the animal has a fuel value. Yes. One of these can produce up to 3.5 megawatts. That thing had a insane fuel value when it was blazed. This one can, though. Put that in there. The augs as well. 200 megajoules. Bring it on. And then once a cycle has happened, once the fuel value has been depleted, you will get a tired version of the animal that you then have to make not tired anymore. That you then have to make not tired by putting them into the Typhoon Bay. And yeah, you have to feed them, make them feel better, and then they can put right back into the thing. Once they feel better, you have to feed them their energy drink again, and then off they go into the wild to produce some power for you. These are relatively low output though. For an individual building, it's not actually all that bad. 3.5 megawatts on the Dingrits. I would actually probably consider doing a mass Dingrit farm of lots and lots of stuff. It might be negative overall, especially considering that the energy drinks are a pretty big chain. They are a pretty big chain. But yeah, so that's Tufra. Tufra, I don't. It might be completely optional, but it could be. It depends on how good the upgrades are that it's used for, and what food recipes it is used in. Yotoi produces aloe and it produces fruit. So you have the option of producing fruit or aloe from Yotoi. The leaves produce cellulose, bedding, raw fiber, are used as food and are used in upgrades. The fruit is used for resveratrol, which is used for growing up cubs and eggs in the creature chamber, and it can be used for ethylene. I guess we'll need to figure all that out. Yeah. Yeah, gee, I wonder. And then the last animal that's new. The final animal that's new is this thing. This is the Schrodinger's antelope. This thing is simultaneously alive and dead. So any particular moment in time, it is a 50% chance of whether it will be alive or dead. So this thing has a 50% output. You only have a 50% chance of producing a living, caged Schrodinger antelope. Yes, the box is open. We can see it. It's sort of like this interdimensional being. Yes, an interdimensional creature that's been caged here. You have a special container for it that you need to make. It feeds off of Navens, so you will need Navens, and you will need Renea to feed these. And you will need Tufra, so that means that all three of these are absolutely required to complete the game at this point if you want to see the victory screen. So, Immortal, you weren't here when I mentioned that the victory screen has now been moved from the rocket to the quantum computer. So now you must do quantum computing to get the victory screen for Factorio. Now, I want to point out with the Schrodinger antelope. Why I can't spell. I can't spell antelope. There. That's how we'll spell antelope. To get your first Schrodinger antelope to put into the module slot for this machine to get this machine moving, you need tritium. You need tritium. Tritium is made through fusing deuterium. AKA, you need to do fusion to get your first Schrodinger antelope. And because you need Schrodinger antelopes for completing space science. So Schrodinger antelopes produce these. Actually, I'll just do a search for space science because that'll be a little bit easier. Space science now requires contained strangelets. Contained strangelets. And to make the contained strangelets, you need caged Schrodinger antelope. So these will be required for space science, for the nitrogen vacancy center, and for the quantum vortex storage systems. So that will be a thing. So in order to officially beat the game, you now need to do some small amount of fusion in order to get a Schrodinger antelope to start being able to do this process to get caged Schrodinger antelope. And there are several recipes. You can throw fine nextlet powder at these guys, apparently. You can throw fine nextlet powder. Oh, and you can increase your chances of producing a caged antelope, apparently, up to 70% by doing some of these other recipes. Also, note the water barrels. Lots of recipes are going to require water barrels now. So you will have to barrel water. So you'll have to deal with barrel logistics and cage logistics at this point in time. I think the cages are a net negative, though. I'm pretty sure cages are a net negative through all of this process. So just bear that in mind, that I'm pretty sure that this is not neutral on the cages side of things. It does appear to be neutral on the usage of the barrels, so bear that in mind. It seems that you always will get your empty barrels back when you use the barrels, but you will not always get back the same amount of cages that you put in. There are some circumstances where some animals feed on 2 other animals and don't produce an empty cage when it produces the caged version of itself in the end. So just, yeah, bear in mind it does seem to be cage negative. But you will have to deal with excess empty cages being produced in some circumstances. Yeah. I don't know if it's a bug or how it would even be able to be fixed, but it's a thing as it currently exists in my test version of the game. So, the last thing is smart farms to really talk about. I don't currently have access, by the way, to the caravans. There's going to be a land-based creature bot, basically, for caravans, but King is still working on that. I don't have access to it. It's not available in this testing build right now. But what is available are these automated smart farms. Automated smart farms. These are currently rocket silos in disguise. They are going to be changing, but currently they are rocket silos in disguise. And the game is lagging a bit, so I need to get rid of some of these things. Some of this stuff needs to... That's not good. Hey, yeah, that was a thing. Apparently, when you add a whole bunch of stuff stacked like that, it can cause problems. So yeah, we've got basically this is an issue that I am officially reporting right now. Yeah, so this is an issue, by the way, King Arthur, with the smart farms. If the cycle is too fast, it will basically it's overlapping sprites. It's overlapping sprites right now. So these are many sprites overlapping each other right now. It doesn't seamlessly add to the resource count so much as overlaps the resource several times if the farm is going too fast. So I don't know how that relates with the changes that are coming with these farms, but yeah, as you can see, it's making my performance tank. It's making my performance tank with my good PC. If you're not able to collect the resources fast enough, it can make performance tank. So, What are these? What are smart farms? Well, as you can probably see, the smart farms are a way of producing specific types of plants. Current iteration also gives you free wooden fences whenever you place a smart farm. That's changing. Yeah, you know about the stacking issue to merge them down to a single or entity. Yeah, that will need to happen before people within reason get access to the smart farms, at the very least. But smart farms, you can actually place bioreserves. You can actually just place bioreserves. You can actually just place Grodd, Kickalk, Cadaveric Aurum, Relesia, Renia, Tufra, and Yotoi in the form of the aloe or the fruit. So you can actually grow these on a rather large farm area and collect them as a resource. Now, this unlocks at yellow science. This is an incredibly late game thing. So don't anticipate having access to this until near the end of the game. It is quite powerful without... So the harvesters have 1 module slot. The actual machine itself has 4. As I said, this is a rocket silo in disguise. The way that this works is that the satellite is going to be one of these replicators. So instead of a satellite that you need to load in order to spawn the resource, you need to add in the replicator as the actual doohickey, the satellite spot, and then launch the rocket with the replicator, and it will spawn the resource. There has been a change that I had suggested to Pyanodon because people are stupid, in that the replicator items used to have a stack size of 10. And what makes that important is that these have a stack size of the slot for satellites can take an entire stack, but you would only get the result of the 1 item. So you could end up sticking an entire stack of replicators into this slot and launch a stack of 10 by mistake, and you'd only get 1 result. So that I had mentioned, it's like that was like the first thing that came to mind when I saw that mechanic and that was a thing that could happen. It's like, oh, people are gonna not think straight. People are like inherently stupid and they'll lose stuff. It was like 100 at the start. Oh, yeah. People are inherently stupid, and you need to have a stack size of 1. You must have a stack size of 1 in order to keep things going within reason. I'm just cleaning the map now a little bit. So yeah, that's the replicators. The replicators have a massive recipe. Like, the last thing I think you want to be spending is NEMs. Like losing NEMs. Oh hey, there's a bot that will be permanently banned. Yeah, let's get rid of that that bot, Mr. Better Me. Yeah, that's gone. Is this way more efficient than the other recipes? I've got no idea. All I know is that this exists, and it's a way of getting what seems to be more faster. No productivity in any of these. It's just things. It's more things, just not faster things. Maybe not faster things. More math, yes. We need to see how well these things actually perform by comparison to the other recipes, and compare the costs of the replicators plus the several recipes here Something tells me that these recipes result in a higher resource output. It's not made apparent, okay? It's not made apparent here that these more complex recipes result in a higher output of the ore resource that they produce, that is put out there. I would imagine that that is the case, that it results in a higher value of resource every time the resource spawns. So, yeah, we shall see, because right now that's at 5.9k, and then once it launches, yeah, so it affects output per entity that it launches. Is it? Oh, hello. That didn't go. That didn't go. Think of the speed without the god modules, yeah. And beacons should affect anything with a module in it. So that is, like, our overview. I'll probably be posting this section of the stream as a single video and just have it be the PyAlien Life overview, because that's really what this effectively is. It's the PyAlien Life overview, where we've talked about the main new mechanics and had a look at what the creatures are. We haven't really talked in much detail about all of the various things that the creatures are really used for. We haven't really talked about the creature upgrading so much, the recipes that give you upgraded things that give better output of specific material types. I can mention it though. You can totally make, for example, let's find something where this actually matters. You can make a Arthurian that has a better meat output. You can make an Arthurian that has a better meat output. And when picking the rendering recipe for this thing in the butcher, you will only be able to get lard out of that. For example, with this one, it's lard. So in this case, the Arthurian recipe for lard, just match the icon, find Arthurian, and yeah, the thing. It'll give you more of that thing. So what you need to do is you need to have a look at all of the animals that you currently have available for a specific thing that you need, and determine which animals have the highest output of the specific products that are worth investing in. Yeah, not sure if it will ultimately be worth it, but we shall see. We shall do the math, and we shall see in the end if that type of upgrading will even be worth it. Note that that type of upgrading will only be available to you at Purple Science, and I've already talked a bit about just how insane Purple Science now is. Because Purple Science, those alien enzymes are rather insane. Just to throw the concept out there, they are rather insane for the alien enzymes. Because it's like at least 3 new creatures, or you'll need to have at least 3 creatures to feed the stuff for those alien enzymes that aren't really necessary prior to that point. Anyway. Well, we shall see how long it takes to have this apply in an actual playthrough. But, yeah. That's the thing. And just the brief review here. The way that the animals work in order to actually grow your animals or grow your flowers, you will need actual copies of your animals or flowers in order for the machine to truly operate. Else, you'll be waiting 2, 3, 4 hours plus to produce the first creature. In some cases, that might actually be more useful to you. Just let the game run for 4 hours to get your first creature. Otherwise, in order to the intended way to actually get your first creature to put into a module slot to get your buildings actually moving, you will need codices and you will need DNA samples and creature chambers in order to actually make those. Creature chambers or the botanical nurseries for the case of flowers. When will I upload to YouTube the stream? It's always at least 24 hours after the stream. So the overview will probably go up tomorrow at, I don't know even, let's say noon. Let's say noon because it won't cover anything afternoon for the overview video. So the overview video probably tomorrow at noon. We shall see. And then the actual stream stuff is just going to continue as normal. So tomorrow, 8 p.m., I think, is the first episode normally of this stream. It will be the first of the continuation of the playthrough of the Paidu Valley. And then from there, 5 and 8 p.m., 5 and 8 p.m., 5 and 8 p.m. I split the last stream into 5 parts because I've been splitting my streams into 5 parts. And they have gotten a lot more views and a lot more people watching the videos in terms of watch time than posting the single full stream as one video. That's why, is just people like watching shorter videos, or shall we say videos that are about 30 to 40-ish minutes. I would say some people go as low as 20, some go as high as an hour, but I say, in my experience, a reasonable expectation for someone to sit and watch a single video about that 30-minute mark, 30 to 40 at most. So that's why I am now splitting the videos. They have performed a lot better through for the on the rails playthrough. So I'm continuing that with the Paidu Valley playthrough. Now, it is officially halfway through our stream time for today. I will, of course, be taking a break right now. And when I return from my break, we will get on with the actual playthrough of the Paidu Valley save. Yeah, we'll actually do... We'll do my Paidu Valley playthrough. I did a little bit off screen, and we'll get into actually making red science for that. So I will head off, take a brief break. I'll be back in about 3 minutes.